Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Thank you for joining us for another week of Ask Rob and Rob. This week we've got not only the two of us, but we've got a pair of questions as well, and they're both about a very popular topic, the London property market. Both coming at it from a slightly different angle, and we'll get into both of those after Rob has told you how you can ask a question of your own.
Well, we keep it very simple. We give you two options. You can call in and leave us a message on the answer phone, or you can do it via the web. If you want to call, pick up your phone and call 013 808 00035. That's 013 808 00035. Or go to thepropertyhub.net/ask. Super simple. So simple, in fact, we've had two questions on London. Let's listen to them both now.
Hi, Rob and Rob. This is Danny from London. Firstly, I need to say that I'm a huge fan of your podcasts and your books. I'm relatively new to your material and I probably found out about it about 6 months ago. But don't worry, I've been completely obsessed since then and I've almost caught up on all of the episodes. So thank you firstly for the inspiration and the education. I have a bit of a different question for you. I've got £70,000 and I'm investing half within my property investments. But with the remaining £35,000, I want to buy a flat to live within in London. It's also a good investment area for the long term. I'm not too fussy about the area within London or whether it's an ex-council flat and it's likely to be a one-bed. But I'm looking at a max purchase price of £270,000. So it'd be great to hear where you'd recommend I look in terms of the areas within London and any other general advice you would have more around buying to actually live within. Thank you, and please keep up the great work with all of the podcasts and books. Bye.
Hi, Rob. This is Jerry here, currently living in London, and I'm looking to get into the buy-to-let world. I was listening to your recent show on recent buys, and I couldn't help but notice you guys didn't buy in London. And I'm wondering if you guys think that the value is gone from London, despite the fact of the good fundamentals in terms of real low supply and a real high demand there, shortage of land, etc. Or do you guys think that the prices are just too high despite all those things? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, two questions, similar. The first one, we're looking at the value, and is there any in London? Because the fundamentals are clearly there. And then we're looking at something a bit more specific, looking at an area for somebody who wants the best of both. A place to live, but an area with some potential uplift as well. But this all comes down to value overall. So let's look at this. I was looking at an area on the outskirts of London, and I was weighing it up as its potential investment because I was getting a deal on the price. So there was a below market value opportunity there, which is great. A big part of property investment though, and this is where the money comes from, the wealth, the creation of wealth, is through capital uplift. So I looked at this area, and this particular area in the last 5 years had seen 45% increase in property prices. This was outside the M25, and that's 45%. That's a big, big number. It's not an area you'd immediately think, oh, prices have been rocketing. You know, it's not like the West End of London. But then I compared it to Manchester, an area we've talked about a lot. Yes, we have. But that's why I wanted to compare it, because everyone's talking about Manchester right now. And Manchester in the last 5 years has grown just 25%. Now, for the amateur, they'll be going, oh, well, get in the area that's done 45%. But actually, once you understand about growth models and cycles, you can see actually some of the juice, some of the good stuff has already passed in that other market. And there's still, even though Manchester's being talked about a lot, plenty of uplift potential still there. And that's really what shocked me, was an area that wasn't classed as prime London had grown that much. And that's the problem. The value in the southeast has, in large parts, gone. The best of it has passed. Now, does that mean you can't get a good investment in the London or the southeast? No, not at all. As I said, if you can get below market value and the yield's good, then if that's the area you want to invest in, why not? But if you're looking for capital uplift, there might be stronger areas. So is there value in London? It's hard to see it, Rob.
It is, and I had the piece on this in the last issue of the magazine because And my point was there is a maximum to how high rents can go. So in London, there was one study that said that people were paying over 70% of their take-home pay in rent, which is just mad, really, isn't it? And from there, it physically cannot get much higher unless wages go up. There is no way that rents can go up any further. So that means that if property prices go up that much further, then that means the yields get compressed. And the yields are already compressed to the point where it's basically impossible to get any kind of return as an investor who's investing for anything other than speculating that it will continue to go up further. So our contention for the last little while, we've been saying this, we've been saying that sort of London must be peaking, and yet London's continued to go up for quite a while. But now finally we're seeing that growth outside the capital is starting to be faster than growth in the capital. So we're going to see London and the rest kind of converge, having diverged quite dramatically for the last few years. So that's my take on it. I don't think in absolute terms there is any value in London. However, in relative terms, there will, of course, be some parts of London that are better than others. And if you're looking for somewhere that you actually want to live and you need to be in London, you need to live in London, you want somewhere to live, it's not necessarily that you're saying that you'd be mad to buy somewhere, because obviously over the medium to long term, prices will go up. And there are parts of London that will go up more than others because they're starting from a lower base. So my thing about London is that because there are such pressures, there's so much demand for housing, there's so much employment there, it's constrained in terms of space, that anywhere that hasn't yet been kind of gentrified, modernized, improved, eventually will be. So to give you a couple of examples, Tottenham has never been particularly great. Now it's getting...
That's not what you called it before we started recording, Rob.
I've moderated my language slightly for the podcast, but yeah, it's now having tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions poured into it to make it more nice, let's say. And then there's also somewhere like Elephant and Castle. Like, you never would have thought that Elephant and Castle would become a desirable place to live, but they're spending an absolute fortune on it, and so eventually it will be. Then there's places that have always been like a bit on the edges, like Leighton, where it's sort of been considered right on the periphery, but values there have gone up because people have got pushed further and further out. So if you're looking for value, for relative value in London, you have to be looking for places that are well connected and not the most desirable of spots at the moment, but have potential. So, for example, Croydon at the moment, a lot of people are talking about whether it's proper London or not. I don't really know. But that's apparently going to be the next place to go. And you never would have thought Croydon. Catford, apparently everyone's moving to now. And I've not been to Catford for a long time, but I've never wanted to go back. And then there's...
It's got a lovely name, though, Catford.
Lovely name. I like cats. But then there's places like Barking, to keep it on the animal theme, where Barking, not a great place at the moment. It's like, I think it's one of the most deprived places in London. But if you look at where it is, it seems inconceivable that at some point it won't improve from where it is. So if you've got the luxury of not being that picky about where you live, you probably can seek out some pockets of relative value. And I don't think that contradicts the answer to the first question, because there always will be relative value, even though London as a whole, if you were looking from a purely investment point of view, isn't necessarily the place that you'd invest right now.
Well, there you have it. 2 questions and 1 pretty comprehensive answer. So if you've ever had a question that's been bugging you, you know what to do. We teach you every week on how to get your questions answered. Get along to the website or call that number we mentioned earlier in the show and get your question in. Now, we will be back next week answering some of those questions, back next Tuesday. And of course, we'll be back on Thursday for the main property podcast. But until then, have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.